rappelle que la bataille n'est pas finie. Donc, on doit prendre ce temps pour se préparer parce qu'on ne sait pas ce qui va arriver après les 30 jours. Donc, je propose quelques mesures qu'on doit prendre comme pays pour se préparer en avance. Donc, premièrement, ce qui est clair, on doit diversifier notre relation commerciale. Le fait qu'on a un partenaire, c'est une vulnérabilité, donc on doit diversifier. Au-delà de ça, on doit fabriquer plus de choses, ce dont on a besoin dans notre pays. Ça, c'est clair aussi. On doit aussi changer notre système d'approvisionnement. On doit utiliser notre argent public au niveau fédéral pour acheter les produits fabriqués au Canada, au Québec, où les travailleurs sont bien rémunérés. Particulièrement, on doit favoriser les entreprises où les travailleurs sont syndiqués. Et finalement, on pense qu'on doit rappeler le Parlement pour mettre en œuvre un ensemble de mesures pour aider les travailleurs qui peut-être potentiellement vont être impactés par les tarifs si Donald Trump allait de l'avant avec les tarifs. Donc, on doit avoir une protection pour ces travailleurs. Les travailleurs doivent savoir qu'on est là pour les travailleurs. Donc, pour les gens qui écoutent, je veux dire que je vous encourage d'acheter les produits canadiens, les produits québécois. On doit boycotter les produits des États-Unis à ce moment. Et ça, c'est quelque chose de tellement important. Ça, c'est pourquoi j'ai maganisé et j'ai essayé de vérifier que chaque chose que j'ai acheté, c'était des produits québécois, des produits canadiens. C'est essentiel qu'on fait ça à ce moment avec le potentiel des tarifs dans le futur, dans 30 jours. C'est essentiel qu'on prenne ces mesures. So I just want to say I'm really honored to be here with Craig Sauvé, a dear friend and a counselor in the riding in the area. With the pause that Donald Trump has announced, the fight is not over. We've got to take the time with this pause, this 30-day pause, to prepare ourselves. So I'm calling on Canada to take a number of steps. We need to make sure we build more of the things that we need in our country here in our country. We got to build more here. We need to also change the rules around procurement. If we're spending money federally, we're spending public money, it should go towards Canadian companies that hire Canadian employees, and particularly those companies that have unionized employees that get well paid. That's where our public money should go. We need to call back Parliament, and we need to have a package of protections in place for workers that might be impacted. Let's have that ready to go now instead of scrambling if something happens in 30 days. And it's very clear that we need to diversify where we sell our goods. We can't rely on one partner only. It makes us too vulnerable. So we need to look at other ways to diversify where we export, where we sell. And for folks listening, I want to encourage you, and this time what you can do is to buy Canadian, to buy Quebec. When you're buying your products, check the labels. We were doing that just now, verifying that things are Canadian made or made in Quebec so that you are supporting local, you're supporting the industries in our country. We need to boycott anything that's made in the United States during this time. We need to be ready to fight back. We need to be ready to prepare ourselves, and so that we can defend our country and defend what we have here. With that, I'm ready for any questions. Je suis prêt pour vos questions. Je pense que j'ai dit ça dans le passé aussi. Ce qui est clair, on ne peut pas plaire Donald Trump. On doit montrer la force. C'est la seule chose qui va fonctionner. Parce que Donald Trump est un intimidateur. Et la seule chose qui fonctionne avec les intimidateurs, c'est la force. On doit montrer qu'on est prêt de se battre contre les tarifs. On est prêt de défendre notre pays. Et on a dit qu'on doit cibler les gens, particulièrement comme Elon Musk. Donc ça, c'est pourquoi j'ai dit qu'on doit arrêter la vente des minéraux essentiels. Ça, c'est une étape, une mesure qui va cibler Elon Musk directement. Et c'est quelque chose qu'on doit faire.
Vous dites qu'on doit être fort, mais on est plus en train de faire des concessions, notamment à la frontière. Est-ce que vous pensez que dans 30 jours, il va falloir faire d'autres concessions et ce sera lesquelles à votre avis?
J'ai peur de cette approche, d'essayer de plaire Donald Trump. Ce n'est pas l'approche qui va fonctionner. L'approche qui va fonctionner, on l'a fait dans le passé quand Donald Trump, dans le passé, a mis des tarifs sur l'aluminium, l'acier, on a mis des tarifs de représailles. Ça, c'est la mesure qui a fonctionné. On doit faire la même chose encore. On doit être fort, doit défendre notre pays. Ce qu'elle a fait, effectivement, elle a ciblé ou elle a souligné que ce qu'elle veut faire, c'est de mettre la pression économique sur notre pays. Et elle parle de 51e État. Ça, c'est ce qu'elle veut faire. On doit défendre notre pays. Sure.
Obviously, yesterday the federal government had announced this fentanyl SAR, even though only less than 1% of fentanyl is actually in the US, it's coming from Canada. How concerned are you that these measures will have precedent that will set future negotiations?
Let's be really clear. Donald Trump made a bogus excuse when he talked about fentanyl. As you pointed out, that is not a real issue. The amount of fentanyl coming from Canada to the United States is negligible. The other way around, though, there are massive amounts of illegal drugs and illegal weapons, particularly firearms, that come into Canada from the United States. So that is an excuse that Donald Trump is using. What he has made very clear, he has repeated again and again, is the 51st state. He is attacking our sovereignty. He wants to put economic pressure on our country, and so we need to fight back. And so these 30 days are time for us to prepare, but we can't try to appease Donald Trump. We need to fight back and defend our country and use these 30 days to prepare that defense, to make sure we are ready to fight back and ready to defend ourselves.
Touch a bit on this for boycotting U.S. products. We were at a press conference this morning from the Quebec Union, who has announced that they are launching legal action against Amazon for closing all its warehouses here in the Mass layoffs. They also asked for all levels of government to forego contracts, cancel contracts with Amazon, and for people to boycott Amazon. Any response, any reaction?
I absolutely agree with the union on this point. What the workers tried to do here in Quebec was to stand up for their rights. They wanted to organize and to unionize to get better wages, which they deserve. This is one of the wealthiest companies in the world, and they don't pay their workers a decent wage. So they wanted to unionize to get fair wages and to protect themselves, safe work conditions. That is a legitimate thing. And in response, Amazon punished these workers by shutting down the factory. So at a minimum, what we need to do as a country is to send a message. You cannot get away with punishing workers this way. We should absolutely cancel all contracts. The federal government has $120 million of contracts with Amazon. They should be immediately canceled.
Sur Amazon en français.
Oui, j'ai pensé que c'est quelque chose d'assez important.
Est-ce que vous allez boycotter Amazon?
Oui, bien sûr. Dans le passé, j'étais tellement ferme, je déteste ce qu'Amazon fait. Et maintenant, c'est clair qu'on doit boycotter Amazon. Mais ce qui est clair, le syndicat a dit que tous les niveaux du gouvernement doivent annuler les contrats avec Amazon. Je suis tout à fait d'accord. Ce que Amazon a fait, ils ont essayé de punir, ils ont puni les travailleurs qui ont essayé de syndiquer, les travailleurs qui ont voulu avoir des salaires justes et des conditions de travail sécuritaires. Tous les travailleurs méritent ça. Et au lieu d'accepter le demande des travailleurs, Amazon a puni ces travailleurs. Donc, au minimum, ce qu'on doit faire comme pays et comme tout niveau du gouvernement, c'est d'annuler les contrats avec Amazon. À ce moment, le gouvernement fédéral a des contrats de 120 millions de dollars. 120 millions de dollars. Donc, on doit annuler tous ces contrats pour montrer clairement qu'on appuie les travailleurs et on ne peut pas laisser Amazon de punir les travailleurs comme ça. So we're open to looking at better ways that we can work together as a country and way that goods can flow across different provinces. But let's be clear about what Pierre Poilievre is saying. Pierre Poilievre is basically saying that Quebec should not be able to have its own standards for safety of the environment, its own standards for workers. That is wrong. Quebec should be able to have the ability to set its standards. And so when we look at ways to make it easier for people to sell across provinces, it cannot compromise the ability of provinces to set standards. It can't compromise protections we have in place for the environment and for workers.
Just on the border security thing, to be clear, are you saying it was a mistake to spend $1 billion on what you're calling a bogus crisis?
Well, the crisis that was raised by Donald Trump is absolutely bogus. It's evidentiary bogus. It's clear that there is no credible threat of drugs, illicit drugs flowing from Canada to the United States. The evidence shows that that is not borne out. The evidence shows that that is not a thing. We have good reason to protect our borders for our own national security. We should be protecting our borders from the illicit material that comes from the States to Canada. I'm talking about the illegal firearms and the drugs that come the other way. So protecting our border is for our own good, but it should not be in any way be seen as something that's going to appease Donald Trump when it is a made-up claim that there's any serious or significant threat to the United States coming from Canada. In fact, it is the other way around, and so we should absolutely defend our borders. In fact, the Conservatives cut 1,100 border security officers when they were in power under Harper, and Trudeau did not reverse those cuts. So at a minimum, we need to reinstate those officers to make sure our borders are protected. We need people protecting our border from what's coming in from the States. But this is not going to appease Trump because it was a made-up claim.
Do you support the concessions we made, or should we have just taken the tariffs and retaliated instead?
I think that there are no concessions with the border that will address a bogus claim by Donald Trump. But if we want to take steps on the border to strengthen our border for our own national security, that is a good thing. When it comes to Donald Trump, the only thing that's going to work is to make it clear that if Donald Trump wants to pick a fight with us, it's going to hurt him. We need to target his allies like Elon Musk. I've said, let's shut off the flow of critical minerals. We know we are the only sustainable, real source of critical minerals, and Elon Musk needs those for his company. So let's hit Elon Musk, the billionaire buddy of Donald Trump. I guess it turns out the billionaire buddy of Pierre Poilievre as well. Let's hit him where it counts and stand up and fight for our country.
Do you think the federal government has done enough in response to the tariffs?
I think the announcement of tariffs in response or retaliatory tariffs was a good announcement. We need to continue to be ready to fight back. Where the federal government is missing is in those protections for workers. I hear from a lot of workers, and they're like, what's going to happen to my job? If these tariffs go forward, I could lose my job. We already saw contracts canceled in Hamilton for steel workers. So there's a lot of workers in our country right now that are, before they go to sleep at night, laying awake saying, well, what's going to happen to my job? And if my job goes, what's going to happen to my family? How am I going to pay the bills? For those families and those workers, there is no real clear plan in place. And that's why I've said the federal government's got to call Parliament back and put in place a plan, a package of supports for those workers in specific sectors that get targeted. Let's have that plan in place so those workers know they're not going to be left to the side.
How will it protect workers to buy Canadian?
Well, buying Canadian is a part of our fight back against these tariffs. Making that decision to support local industry, making that decision to support the local economy will keep us stronger. It's something we should always have been doing, but making that decision now in the face of tariffs will strengthen our local economy, will strengthen local producers, and we're hoping to send a message with our pocketbook that we're not going to buy American products, and I'm hoping that'll have an economic impact to bolster the message that we are going to fight back and defend our country.
Une dernière question.
Oui, oui.
Ça crée une incertitude, même si les tarifs, on a 30 jours de sortie.
Exact.
Est-ce que le programme aux travailleurs devrait être mis en place dès aujourd'hui, même si les tarifs ne sont pas en place?
Exactement. Ça, c'est pourquoi je demande que le gouvernement rappelle le Parlement, parce qu'on doit avoir des soutiens en place pour les travailleurs, peu importe qui s'arrive dans le futur, parce qu'on ne sait pas si après 30 jours de cette pause, Donald Trump allait de l'avant avec les tarifs. Donc, qu'est-ce qu'on va faire pour les travailleurs à ce moment? Les tarifs vont être en place, l'impact va être là, et peut-être les travailleurs vont perdre leurs emplois. Puis, si on essaie de faire quelque chose, ça c'est trop tard. Donc, on doit mettre en place des protections de maintenant. Au cas où, si les tarifs, si Donald Trump allait de l'avant avec les tarifs, on a des appuis en place pour cibler les secteurs ciblés par les tarifs. Thanks so much. I appreciate you all. Thank you. Merci. Merci.
relationship that is really formed well between our Mayor, Mark Sutcliffe, as well as the government and Doug Ford to ensure that we get the most we can for this city. But today we're here talking about this beautiful facility, the workers that it employs in the neighborhood, and the Canadian products that they do have. On that note, I'll turn the floor over to our great Mayor, Mark Sutcliffe.
Thank you, Tim. Bonjour tout le monde. C'est vraiment un plaisir d'être ici aujourd'hui pour cette annonce très importante. Et tout d'abord, je tiens à remercier l'équipe d'Ambico de nous accueillir ici aujourd'hui. I want to say thank you to Judah and the team at Ambigo, team all over the place here, a great team. Thank you for welcoming us here today. I'm grateful to the Premier and his team for highlighting a successful family-owned Ottawa business today here in the east end of our city, a business that, like many other companies in Ottawa, is facing some anxiety over the prospect of a tariff battle with the United States. Even if there is a temporary reprieve, we all need to continue to work together to respond to this ongoing crisis. I'm glad to be joined today. Je suis très heureux d'être ici avec mes collègues du Conseil municipal. I'm joined by my colleagues, Tim Tierney, who you saw, Glenn Gower, Kathy Curry, Marty Carr, Catherine Kitts, and Laura Dudas. And Tim, it's always great to be in Beacon Hill-Surville Ward, and you're a great champion of local businesses in this ward. So I'm very excited about the announcement we're about to hear from the Premier today. Over the course of the past few months, I have been speaking regularly with the Premier, with Transportation Minister Prabmeet Sarkaria, who's here today as well. We've been talking regularly with the Premier, with the Minister, with others on their team about Ottawa's challenges. And I think what we're going to see today is a very strong example of the Premier's willingness to listen and to respond, not with a small Band-Aid solution, but with something meaningful, something that has the potential to be a real game changer for Ottawa. So Premier, thank you very much. I'll turn it over to you. Premier Doug Ford.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, and I'm thrilled to be in Ottawa, and thank you to the amazing team at Ambico and Tim. You're doing great. Everyone here is actually incredible. This is what I'm talking about supporting Ontario-made products. You know, you look at these doors that they make, they're not regular doors. They're like explosion-proof steel doors and every type of door you can think of for security in buildings. We need to buy 100% Ontario, and if they don't make it in Ontario, we have to buy 100% Canadian. Pass that message on, and I'm so glad that the municipalities are going to follow suit. There's 444 municipalities, and I'll guarantee you all 444 buy doors like they make right here at Ambico. And thank you, Mayor. You know, the Mayor and I have had an incredible relationship for a long time, since the day he's been elected. And I want to thank you for being an absolute champion for the city and for being such a great partner. But you can't do anything if you're mayor or you're premier without your colleagues and the city councillors here. They've helped out so much, move things along. So I know I remind them every single time. I always say, I walked a mile in your shoes. When in politics, city councillor is probably one of the toughest jobs out there. You're on the front doors. And I told them, I keep forgetting I'm not a city councillor because I still go to people's doors. But I'm really excited to be here today to talk about the future of that partnership, to talk about the future of this great city. I also brought incredible candidates that are, God willing, going to be representing Ottawa down at Queen's Park. I just want to acknowledge them as well. I call it the team of champions, and headed up by Prab. He was doing such a great job as Minister of Transportation, and we look forward to getting back to that situation. Before I do, I want to just touch on last night's developments, because we got some really good news yesterday. President Trump has paused his tariffs, as you heard. We've averted an absolute disaster, at least for now. And when I say a disaster, you know, I get a lot of messages. I think last time I checked, I'm up to 2,643 messages on my phone, and I apologize. I can't get back to everyone. but all sorts of different messages. But folks, I can't stress how important this is to make sure we negotiate fairly and just get a deal. We have more time for more negotiations and more time for cooler heads to prevail. I want to thank the countless workers, the union leaders that have helped out, the businesses, and everyday proud Canadians, everyone who rallied together to make this happen. But make no mistake, Canada and Ontario continue to stare down the threat of tariffs. Whether it's tomorrow, in a month, or a year from now, President Trump will continue to use the threat of tariffs to get what he wants. We are already feeling the impact. Uncertainty around, not here in just Canada and Ontario, but in the U.S. I talked to a lot of people down in the U.S. and you saw the market, you know, it tanked and then it went back up, still lost about 150 points, but nothing is worse than uncertainty. So today, the only thing that's certain is uncertainty for the next 30 days. So as long as our trading relationship with our largest trading partner is up in the air, we'll continue to see potential projects sit frozen. With projects already underway being put at risk, Canada and the U.S. need to remain united. We need to remain focused on the real trade war we're fighting, and that's with China. China is hijacking global supply chains, using Mexico as a backdoor into American and Canadian markets, undercutting our workers. If the U.S. and Canada want to win, we need to fight together, not each other. If Ontario wants to win, we need to protect our economy. We need to protect Ottawa's economy. In March 2024, I was honored to stand with Mayor Sutcliffe to announce a new deal for Ottawa. This was a historic moment that delivered real support for our nation's capital, Ontario's second largest city, the economic hub for Eastern Ontario. Uploading Highway 174 with $56 million in immediate funding for its repair and upgrade, $181 million for highways and transit, including building a new interchange at 416 and Barnsdale Road, and $50 million to repair and upgrade rural roads, and $48 million to enhance public safety, including on public transit and in the Byward Market. Today, I'm thrilled to announce again, standing with Mayor Sutcliffe for another historic announcement and their council. With the threat of President Trump's tariffs continuing to loom over Ontario, it's never been more important to invest in our economy, support taxpayers, and keep costs down for hardworking families. That's why a re-elected PC government will upload the Ottawa LRT. Absolutely. That's good. Doing so will free up significant funds and capital. You know, I think, Mayor, over 30 years, about $4 billion for Mayor Sutcliffe and the city government to invest in other priorities, helping to support local taxpayers by reducing operational costs, improving local services, and keeping costs down for hardworking families here in Ottawa. This will be more important than ever as the LRT project completes Stage 2 and begins Stage 3 expansion into more communities across the region. Friends, this is about supporting the City of Ottawa. It's about supporting local taxpayers. It's about supporting commuters. It's about supporting economic growth. This is about protecting Ontario, protecting Ottawa. With your support, with a strong, stable 4-year mandate that outlives and outlasts the Trump administration, we will navigate this period of economic uncertainty. We will stare down the threat of Trump's tariffs and do whatever it takes, whatever is necessary to protect Ontario, our workers, businesses, and communities. Because make no mistake, the threat of tariffs is still very real. Mark my words, President Trump is on a mission. He wants to take Ontario's auto jobs and send them to Michigan and North Carolina. Those are his words, and many other jobs. He says America doesn't need anything Canada has. Those are his words. He wants to use economic force to get his way, Again, those are his words. For now, President Trump's tariffs are on hold for 30 days. He's going to use that time to renegotiate our entire trade agreement. Given the chance, he's going to use every day he's in office to undermine our economy, to benefit his own. Ontario and Canada are in a battle for the next 4 years, a trade battle, a diplomatic battle, an economic battle. We have to work every angle, use every relationship we've got, governors, senators, congressmen, and women, to make sure President Trump understands this simple fact. We are so much stronger together. With your support, I will take these battles on. I will take our message stateside. I will work with whoever, wherever, whenever to win. I will protect Ontario. Thank you so much, and may God bless the people of Ontario. Thank you. Thank you.
We will now open the floor for questions from the media. Please come to the mic and state your name and outlet. Just a reminder, it's one question and one follow-up. First question.
Mr. Ford, Ian Bailey from the Globe and Mail.
Hi,
We've
Ian.
all seen the hot mic footage of you talking about Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Bonnie Crombie's team has cut an ad and put that out there. I
Yeah.
wonder if you could tell us, why did you support Mr. Trump ahead of the election when it was clear he was going to target Canada with tariffs?
Well, you know something, I always believe in working with anyone. And yeah, on the hot mic, yeah, he makes me swear once in a while. I think he makes a lot of people swear in this country. So I thought it'd be a little different, a little change, but obviously he decided to pull the knife out and stab us. And when I'm there, my number one job is to protect Ontario, to protect Canadians. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I will fight with every single tool I have in our toolbox to make sure we defend the people of Ontario and in return defend the people of Canada.
As a follow-up, how do you see the next 30 days unfolding with the tariffs suspended? What worked? What didn't work? What do you have to change to? Do you think you can head off the tariffs altogether?
Well, we'll do our best. I'm going to head down there on the 11th and 12th, back there on the 20th. We're constantly talking to governors and senators and congressmen and women. We have to make sure that the American people understand what it will do to their economy. There's going to be layoffs. There's going to be inflation in both countries. It's going to be causing the interest rates to go up. When the inflation goes up, interest rates will go up. It'll be a disaster. My American friends, and I have a lot of American friends, and I love the U.S., and so do Canadians, right across the board. And I know Americans love Canadians. No one, not one single person, not one elected official is going, Canada's the problem. It's just not happening. You know, the problem is China shipping in cheap parts to go into Mexico. Mexico slaps on that Made in Mexico sticker, ships it up through the U.S. and Canada, and cost American and Canadian jobs. I'm there to protect against these threats from China, from Mexico, and now the threats of tariffs from the U.S.
Hi, Mr. Ford. Kate Porter with CBC
Hi, Kate.
Ottawa. You just mentioned $4 billion in upload from the city. Ottawa has trains, tracks, debt, lawsuits. What are the details here? Are you saying that Metrolinx is going to upload all of that, and when?
Yes. Well, I can pass that over I almost called him the minister. He's not the minister. He's Prab Sarkaria, and maybe you could talk about that a little bit. But what the point is here, we're going to take the burden off of Ottawa. Their number one anchor around their neck is the cost of this LRT. We all saw what happened on phase one. We're correcting that, all of us. Phase two, it's going to be much better, and phase three will be great. But Prab, do you want to say a few words? As the MPP from Brampton, not from anything else, just to go on record.
Yeah, thank you very much. So just like we operate many of our LRTs, I think one of the suggestions from Mayor Sutcliffe in our conversations had been about how the Ottawa LRT had additional costs. So when you talk about life cycle costs, life cycle and capital costs, those are what we will continue to work with in our team at Metrolinx to ensure this upload takes place. And as the Premier said, this is about taking that burden off the city. And so we work very, very closely with them to ensure that happens and deliver and help deliver that better transit options for the city. I think it's a big day for transit. It's a big day for the city of Ottawa. We want to be there hand in hand supporting that and ensuring that we can get that service delivered.
Sorry, just clarity though, are you suggesting like OC Transpo keeps running everything as happens in Toronto when you take over the assets and all of our lawsuits and our debt payments and all of that?
Yeah, so OC Transpo would ideally still operate it, just like we have on our lines in Toronto as well. So we keep that Ottawa element and also continue to build upon that with our expertise at Metrolinx, but ultimately taking that burden off the city with respect to the costs that they are seeing with it. So it's a win-win for everybody. We'll bring in our expertise. It's a great day for transit in Ottawa, and we want to continue building on the success along with the Ottawa New Deal on our investments in roads and the uploads of the highways as well. So we look forward to working on that and to bringing that forward with the mayor and the OC Transpo team.
Neville Hunt with the Community Voice newspaper in
Neville.
Canada. I've asked you questions about the Canada Lakes Golf Course before, but you said that with the case before the courts, you couldn't comment. The Ontario Court of Appeal has ruled that Club Link can build homes on the Canada Lakes Golf Course lands. It's no longer before the courts. When Club Link wanted to build homes on the Glen Abbey Golf Course, your government stepped in and with one phone call got the plans stopped. Will you act to prevent development of the Canada lands that were to remain green in perpetuity?
Well, I'd have to dig into that. Thanks for informing me. It's gone through the courts, but well, I'll look into that. But I just can't, I just don't know about the case as much as you do. So just give me time to look into that and I can get back to you.
On June 20th, 2023, you were in the riding. I asked you a question. You responded that you weren't familiar with it and
Yeah,
that you would provide a direct answer, and I have never received a call back.
Well, if you give your number over to one of my folks there, I'll be able to give you a call back. Thank you.
David Aiken, Global News. Good
Hi,
morning. Good afternoon, Premier.
How are you doing?
Good to have you in Ottawa.
Yeah, great to be here always.
I wanted to ask about the border security details announced
Yes.
by the federal government yesterday, whether you think that's sufficient, and also we're trying to figure out where this 10,000 border personnel is going to come from. I wonder if it might be OPP personnel perhaps will be part of this calculation. Give me your thoughts about that border security.
Well, I think we've always put that in the window over the last 3 or 4 weeks. The federal government is coming out investing $1.3 billion, and that's buying more helicopters, more boots on the ground, hiring more CBSA officers, and working collaboratively with the DEA and the U.S. Border Security, with the RCMP. Here, the OPP have over 200 officers ready to go, as well as drones and our helicopters and boot patrol, ATV patrol. So we're going to tighten that border up until it squeaks. But it works on both sides of the border, by the way. And I've mentioned this in a couple of newscasts down in the U.S. Yeah, I've been on the PM for a long time about tightening up the border. We are tightening up the border. When President Trump says he needs the border tightened up, we acted immediately, and we're going to continue to act immediately. But let's keep in mind, which I've said to the U.S., and I'll say that, I've said it to the elected officials, it works two ways. We've seen over 25,000 kilos of cocaine, heroin, opioids come across from our southern border into Canada. We've seen illegal guns at 95% of these heinous crimes that are committed not just in Ottawa, in Toronto, the outlying region, they're all coming from the U.S. So in saying all that, we have to work together. And we have been working together. I met with the DEA. We've met with the Border Patrol. We met with our OPP and RCMP, and everyone's pitching in. That's the way it should work. It's not one-sided here.
And I don't know if you had a chance to watch the president in the Oval Office yesterday afternoon. He made a lot of comments, one of which was, I'd like to see Canada become our 51st state. And that's a direct quote. How can we sit down and negotiate with somebody who's got that in the back of his head? Is that wise? And he's broken CUSMA. He's violated, he was about to violate all sorts of terms of CUSMA. How can we trust this guy?
Yeah, it's very simple. Canada's not for sale. That's off the table right there. And I can't control what the president says. I don't think too many people can. But in saying that, he has some really smart people around him. And anyone who thinks Donald Trump is not a smart negotiator, he's a negotiator, trust me. You don't become president twice and run a big business without being a super smart negotiator. But it's about working together and explaining to the American people. That's where the pressure comes. The pressure comes from the senators, the governors, the congresswomen and men that are getting calls from their constituents, shouting up and down and screaming. It's like 3,600 products the LCBO was ready to pull off the shelves. Just think of this, folks. 3,600 products, 35 states, and out of the 3,600 products, I'm guessing close to over 2,000 companies, all calling up their federal senator, their federal congressperson, their local congressperson, state congressperson, their governor. Lines are blowing up. There's one thing I learned. I've learned a lot. One thing, don't mess with people's booze. They lose their minds. And that's what happened last negotiation when we pulled, we pulled some booze off the shelves last time, the bourbon in Kentucky. People love the bourbon. It's their country, their state, their religion, and then bourbon in Kentucky. That's how it goes.
Hey, Premier Ford, David Baxter here from the Canadian Press. Now, you called this election to respond to the tariff threat. We now know there's going to be that 30-day reprieve there, and there is still more work to do there, of course. But there are a lot of issues affecting Ontarians here at home. Many can't find a family doctor. We're still dealing with a housing crisis. When will Ontarians hear your plans to address the health and housing issues the province faces?
Yeah, well, we've been working hard. We put more stuff up front. Matter of fact, the mayor ended up getting a nice big check with the city council because he met the BFF fund. And we're going to continue making sure that we invest and cut red tape and regulations. Nothing gets frustrating more, and gets me more frustrated than, and it doesn't happen in Ottawa that much, but other jurisdictions, let's say. I went to a company yesterday, and they said, well, we might be moving down to the U.S. or Mexico, not because we don't love it here and we've been here close to 100 years, is because I put a permit into the city and have construction guys outside, and it's taking 1.5 years to get a permit. Guys, let's work on COVID speed. Every municipality, the province, the federal government, no more hokey pokey, put it on the carousel, go around for comments, hop on. I'm an expert at this. I'm telling you, I've worked in Toronto, City of Toronto. I know how it works. And then they put the comments on, and it goes on the carousel. It comes back for more comments. And the little Miss Jones is worried about the grasshopper and everything else you could think of. We need to start building. We need to start building businesses. So what I did, I called the mayor, and I won't say the name, and said, you know this permit? This guy's ready to move 200 jobs down south of the border because of permitting. So we have to move quick, no matter if it's this or building pipelines across our country or getting shovels in the ground for critical minerals. Do you hear what President Trump says? Invest $1 billion and we're waiving everything. You're going to get shovels in the ground. This is what we're competing against. The rules have changed now here in Ontario and Canada. We have to start moving, or guess what? They'll chew us up and spit us out in about 3 seconds. We have the brightest, most capable people in the world. We have the greatest nation, the greatest sub-sovereign nation right here in Ontario. Let's pull together. Let's get our act together. Start approving permits and approvals across the board, no matter if it's municipal or provincial.
Yeah, I want to pick up on something you said to Ian Bailey's first question about the hot mic moment there. Yeah. You said you thought Trump would be different this time around. He did campaign on tariffs once again. In his first administration, he hit Canada with steel and aluminum tariffs.
That's right.
What were you expecting specifically that was going to be different about Trump when he didn't make bones about it? Tariffs were coming.
Yeah, like I said, I can work with anyone. I don't care who it is. I think I proved it to the country, no matter if it's Liberal government or in Toronto, an NDP government or anyone. I just thought things might be a little different. We experienced 5 or 6 weeks of tariffs last time. I appreciate the federal government getting me involved down there. And what changed it is when we started to go after their bourbon. Honest, that's what happened. And I thought, okay, we're going to move forward. The economy's good. I believe in people that want to put money back into people's pockets. I believe in elected officials, no matter what stripe, lowering taxes on people and on businesses. That's economics 101. Put money into people's pockets and businesses right here right here. They're going to reinvest it in their people, technology, into their facility. But I'll tell you one thing, President Trump's not getting a Christmas card anytime soon, to say the least. And I'll do everything I can, mark my words, everything I can to protect Ontario jobs, people, communities, and businesses.
Mr. Ford, Mark McAllister from City News.
Hi, Mark.
I'm going to stick with the comments you made yesterday again. How many Ontario voters do you think supported the idea of Donald Trump getting elected?
Oh, I don't know. You know, I mean, I know there's support across the country. We aren't talking about that. I'm talking about the most serious situation this country has ever seen. I think it's even more serious than the pandemic. This is someone targeting Ontario. Do you know why he's targeting Ontario? Because we're an economic powerhouse now. He wouldn't be targeting Ontario 7 years ago. Matter of fact, they helped him. 300,000 jobs were chased out of the province. All we saw is taillights heading down to the U.S. along with companies. Not any longer. We've seen investments of $70 billion. I think in 23 that all of us, people like right here in Amico, created more jobs than all 50 U.S. states combined. Why? Because we cut the burden, cut the red tape and the regulation, reduced the cost of doing business by $8 billion. Companies are fleeing from all over the world to come here to Ontario because of the quality of the people, because we've cut $1 billion of red tape, because we've never ever raised a tax on businesses. Matter of fact, we've reduced them, lowered the burden $8 billion a year, and we're putting money back into these hardworking people's pockets. Simple as, no matter if it's filling up on your gas, every time you fill up on your gas, I wish we had a big sign on every pump. Because of the provincial government, the gas is 10.7 cents a litre cheaper than it would have been. The other parties believe in the carbon tax. I don't believe in gouging people. I believe in giving money back. On the $200 rebate, we were going ahead, no matter if there was election or no election, they were getting their $200 rebate. And I'll tell you the difference between ourselves and the other two parties or three parties. They believe when you get money in the government, it's the government's money. It's not the people's money. We think totally different. This is people's taxes that they paid, and we saw a little increase of revenues. We went around the cabinet table, it took us about 3 seconds to decide we're giving it back to the people that gave it to us. Very few governments that I know think that way. And I'll tell you, the three other parties, they don't think that way. They think, I'm going to take that extra money and I'm going to tax you more. That's their philosophy. High taxes do not work anywhere in the world.
You supported Donald Trump during his first time in office, when those first tariffs were implemented. What made you think that this was going to be any different?
Well, I went down there, and again, I thank the federal government for sending me down there to negotiate with Mr. Lighthizer, Bob Lighthizer at the time. Had a great relationship with him, and we all worked collaboratively together with Mr. Lighthizer, with the federal government, with all the provincial premiers at the time. We also all hopped on the plane and came down to Washington to meet the governors. Folks, this is all about relationship building. It's not tit for tat and back and forth. It doesn't work that way. You have to respect negotiations. When someone says we're going to give you a reprieve for 30 days, you don't jam it to them. You respect the art of negotiations. You say, that's fine, then we'll pull back. Folks, I got to explain it again. I don't think people understand the catastrophic hit we will take in the economy. There'd be 500,000 people losing their jobs here in Ontario. You negotiate fairly, and we're going to continue to negotiate fairly and honorably with respect on both sides of the border. We can be so much better if we stand together, if we're united together. We can build the AmCan fortress I keep talking about, and that's my goal.
Thank you, Premier. Marco Vigliati, iPolitics. I do want to stay with the hot mic comments, but pick up what you said about those investments that you're saying are being drawn to Ontario. A big part of that are the investments your government's made, along with the federal government, in EV manufacturing. And while fair, President Trump did announce the 25% tariffs during the campaign, one thing he was very clear about was that he was going to dismantle the Biden government's EV subsidies program. Considering that this is what we're staring down.
Yep.
This may put more strain on your government and on those business decisions for those EV manufacturings. Can you explain why you were still excited to see this man take the White House?
Well, again, I'll work with anyone. I think you guys are obsessed with that. I will work with anyone. And I think I've been very, very clear yesterday in my press conference how I feel about President Trump. In saying that, let's put personalities aside. This is about people's livelihoods. This is about not just Canadian livelihoods in Ontario, but this is about American livelihoods that are going to lose their jobs. They're going to feel the pain like they've never felt before. You know, this is all part of negotiating, and anyone that has ever negotiated that's listening understands this. Again, you don't go and start attacking each other, and we got attacked unprovoked. We're sitting here thinking we have great neighbors, which we do, best in the world, in my opinion, and all of a sudden, he launches an economic war. And the whole world is watching us right now. Two of the closest friends in the world, cherished allies, been shoulder to shoulder, and all of a sudden he gets in, and not just a little attack, he wants a full-out economic war. That does not work. And hopefully we're going to continue communicating that message to the American people, continue to communicate that with the senators and the governors and congresspeople. Keep in mind, their system works differently than ours. Yes, he has presidential powers, but he has to get through Senate and he has to get through Congress. And two of his own senators came out publicly, and there's many that haven't come out publicly yet, that don't support this. They do not support attacking Canada. Simple as that. China's the problem, not Canada.
And just as a follow-up, Premier, yesterday you doubled down saying on the need to remove internal trade barriers, saying we're in an economic war, and I know we have a temporary reprieve, but I just want to get, firstly, clarification. Is this still something that's a priority for this government? And sorry, just one other point. And, I understand there's some things like, certifications being recognized across jurisdictions, but there's some provisions you put in place to encourage businesses to buy Ontario products, for your government to choose from Ontario producers.
Yes.
Would you consider expanding that to the entire country, considering that, we may be facing, this pressure, this tariff threat from the U.S.?
Yeah, well, now that's a good question. So interprovincial trade barriers, we were just talking to Tim Houston. He's one of the premiers that's heading this up. We were just chatting this morning over text message. I'll be calling him after this. I say go full steam ahead. Like, this could add 50 to 100 billion to our GDP. This is good. Again, the games have changed, folks. In Canada, before, I've been trying to do this for 6 years with some other premiers. Barriers are up. Well, yeah, I'm all good to do this, but let's protect the bottle of wine that gets shipped from, that's just an example, but let's protect the bottle of wine from BC over to Ontario. We can do quicker and faster trade with 51 other countries in the world, including the U.S., than we can with, I don't know, BC and Ontario, for example. It's ridiculous. We need to change things. If we want to survive, we want to be prosperous, the rules have to change. And I think everyone knows right across the country the rules have to change.
Hi, Premier. Davis Legree with the Ottawa Compass. I wanted to stick with tariffs. They were paused yesterday after the Prime Minister and President Trump had a phone call.
Yeah,
you have called this election because you say you need a strong mandate to stand up to President Trump. What was your role in the negotiations that led to the pause in the tariffs yesterday?
I'm not going to get deep into this. I can't. But I can tell you, I think everyone's seen me. I'm out there working the U.S. media, hitting probably 100 million people through all the different, be it CNN or Fox or NBC or Fox Business and so on and so forth. I'm on that phone constantly with governors and senators, pretty powerful senators, sitting on powerful committees, getting the message out that we don't want to do this. We don't want to fight. The whole world's watching two of the closest allies fight each other. That's not good, and it's not good for either country, because the rest of those countries around the world, they're sitting back thinking, if they're going after their best and closest ally, they're coming after us next. That's exactly what they're thinking. And I'm hearing it from ambassadors, consul generals, and business people from around the world. This is not good. Uncertainty is not good for business. It's not good for communities and jobs. We need certainty. And we'll do everything we can to work not only with our federal government, but the U.S. federal government as well. As he has his key people in place, we're going to be continuing communicating. But I think we had I'm going to say we had an extremely strong voice in the decision yesterday. But we have to outlive and outlast Donald Trump for 4 years. That's what we need to do. And anyone who's as naive to think he's just going to roll over and, go to the White House and that's it. They don't know President Donald Trump, I'll tell you that.
And then switching gears real quickly, a question about local politics. Ottawa is one of the few areas where your party, your government, you guys haven't really had electoral success over the last couple of elections. Why do you think that is? Why hasn't your message resonated here in Ottawa?
Well, let's see what happens in this election. We're pretty confident we'll have more seats than the other people. I'm going to be very blunt here. No government, I've been around for 3 decades, no government has shown Ottawa more love and more support and more help than we have. I can't remember a premier having a great relationship with a great mayor like we have, even his lovely wife's cookies. I think he goes right to my stomach, that goes to my heart, and I actually like your wife a lot more than you, Mayor, but that's all right. But anyways, we just have a great relationship. The council's been great. It's collaborative, but man, have we shown a lot of love here, and I love it. Every time I come here, I think I tell everyone the story. From the day I was nominated, every trip I come here is just incredible. I get excited when they say I'm coming to Ottawa. I really do.
Hi, Premier. Annie Rose Deschâtelet from Notre newspaper. Could we have your input on the federal proposition of a 6th bridge linking Gatineau and Ottawa? And what could it mean for the National Capital Region? We've been confirmed by Stephen McKinnon that you discussed this issue with Federal Minister Dominique LeBlanc.
Minister LeBlanc told me about a bridge you were saying?
Yeah, a 6th bridge between Gatineau and Ottawa.
Okay, I can't remember that, but I'm all for infrastructure. And I have a great relationship with Minister LeBlanc, that's no longer the infrastructure minister. But we're in. If we can get federal funding, we can get support from Quebec and Ontario, let's build. I'm all about building and putting infrastructure in. We announced another $22 billion for infrastructure the other day, on top of the $200 billion that we're doing right now across the province. In Ottawa, as you heard, got a good chunk of that, not only the infrastructure of the transit, but also the interchanges and rural roads. That's important. So I believe in infrastructure.
Monsieur Sutcliffe, rapidement, votre présence ici ce midi, est-ce que c'est un peu votre endossement à la candidature de... Conférence de presse. Parfait. Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Good day, Mr. Ford. I'm Charlie Pinkerton of the Trillium, long time no see. Earlier today, NDP leader Marit Stiles said that she doesn't think Donald Trump is aware of who you are. You've today and in the past plenty of times talked about the importance of relationships and negotiating. So I'm just wondering if you can share what your personal relationship is with Donald Trump, if there is any.
I don't have a personal relationship with Donald Trump.
Okay, thank you. Our publication published a story earlier today that was about a lawsuit against 2 former staffers of yours. I won't get into the nitty-gritty, but essentially it's about an alleged scheme to get properties rezoned for development.
I've never heard of this.
Well,
first time I've heard about it.
Okay, well, the question I have for you is, I'm just wondering if you think that your government has created a culture that, essentially allows people to believe that backroom dealing can help them.
Absolutely not. It doesn't happen. Anything happens like that, they're fired instantly. I don't play those games. I focus on taking care of the people.
Hello, Mr. Ford. I'm Anna Louise from Radio Canada. Marit Stiles says this morning in a press conference that you left the province vulnerable and weak. What's your reaction?
Well, I'm going to have to disagree with Marit Stiles between the NDP that prompted up the Liberals that destroyed our province and gave us the largest sub-sovereign debt in the world, highest electricity costs, chased 300,000 jobs out of the province. Look where we're at. Isn't it amazing? a different government. Things change in 7 years, but we're going to continue being here and protecting the people of Ontario.
During your speech, you say that we need to buy 100% Ontario. How we achieve that?
Well, we're going to make sure that we allocate the $30 billion that we buy, and there's so many different agencies and so on and so forth that buy as well, along with municipalities, 444 municipalities. They have massive buying power. But folks, I don't have to preach this. This is a no-brainer. I've never seen patriotism run so hard and so fast around our country, and I love it. I absolutely love to see patriotism in our country and our province, and people waving the Canadian flag. And most of people that I see forget the political stripes. Canada comes first, and I love to see that. So let's all band together. We're an economic powerhouse. Our budget's $214 billion. Very few states in the U.S. can say their budget's $214 billion. Very few companies in the entire world can say their revenues are $214 billion. Outside of a few, Walmart and maybe Amazon and a couple others, but we're right up there. So we have the buying power. And you know something? Americans know that. President Trump knows that. That's why we have a target on our back, and that's why we have to stay united, I should say, and fight with everything we have. And we will. Mark my words, we will.
This will be the last reporter.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ford. Thank you for taking the time. Austin Lee here with CTV News. My question is, what does Ontario need to do to reduce reliance on the United States, and how will your government make tangible steps to bring more manufacturing here to Ontario?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. You know, so we've set records on manufacturing. Over 200,000 jobs were created in 2024 alone. We're seeing right now, potentially, I mentioned the $70 billion from all over the world that have come in. By the way, not just in the EV sector. We've seen in the tech sector right here. Everyone thinks tech capital is Waterloo, Kitchener. Yeah, it's great. Those are really good places. The real tech capital is right here in Ottawa. How many companies? Is there 600, Mayor? In the tech sector? Yeah. 800, wow. So this is the tech capital of Canada, and we've invested here in tech companies. Life sciences as well, over $6 billion have been invested in Ontario. You have to create the climate, the conditions for companies to come here. If government creates jobs, I'll tell you folks, we're all in deep trouble. We create the climate and the conditions for companies to come here, for the lower taxes, lower energy, but the number one selling feature are our people. They're absolutely incredible. Right now on the table, we have tens of billions of dollars. Right now, it's on hold. People are nervous. That's what I talk about, uncertainty. But there's no better government anywhere in this country that can drive economic growth that we have, and we have a proven track record.
Just as a follow-up to the LRT, or for the LRT announcement here, I wanted to talk about the timeline of this announcement. So when did these conversations begin, and why are you announcing this commitment now?
Well, this conversation's been going on since the day the mayor got elected. He said that's one of the number one issues, and it's a massive financial burden for a city, no matter how big Ottawa is, and it's the second largest in our province. That's a massive burden to put around someone's neck. But we're there. We're going to support the mayor, the citizens of Ottawa, the city council, and it just like 1,000 pounds were just lifted off their shoulders today. But this conversation is going on every time I talk to the mayor. This guy's a champion. He fights for his people in Ottawa like you've never seen before. And he has the backing of the city council, and he's just an incredible person. He really is. A smart guy, too. Very smart. Sorry, I keep calling you a guy. Sorry, Mayor. He's a smart mayor.
Thank you. This concludes today's press conference.
Okay, thanks, everyone. Thank you.
the provincial level, and then of course we have great partnerships with the Department of Homeland Security and the Customs and Border Patrol that they oversee. So working together, this is a Team Canada approach, but it's also a Team North America approach. When we bring these investments forward as the Manitoba government, it's because we want to see a crackdown on fentanyl in our communities. When we have a secure border, that benefits people in our province and in our country. And if we make those investments at a time that it helps to strengthen the relationship with the U.S., then all the better. They're our closest ally, our most important trading partner. The only time we should be cheering for different teams is when we're at the Four Nations Cup and watching hockey. The rest of the time, we should all be friends off the ice. And this investment here on this very icy part of the border, I think is a great sign of how the U.S. and Canada can work together. And the province of Manitoba is very, very happy to support. So thanks to Ministers McGuinty and Duguid, as well as MP Carr, and to everybody from law enforcement, the conservation officers, the RCMP, Border Patrol, CBSA. We really, really appreciate First Nations Police. Thank you for your service. We appreciate what you do.
Good. We'll open it up to questions one at a time, please. We've got about 10 minutes.
Minister McGuinty, what makes you think that 29 days from now, there's not going to be another demand unrelated to security at the border or tariffs? What makes you so confident?
What makes us confident in the government now is the level of cooperation, participation, the teaming that's going on here as we wrestle these challenges to the ground. We're laser focused here on practical measures. We're getting this job done. We're going to be really wrestling this fentanyl scourge to the ground. It's a tragedy for so many families. Where will we be in 29 days? That's up to the president. But let's be honest about something, okay? The president of the United States ran in an election. And he won the election fair and square. And he has a platform that he's delivering in his own way for the American people. We're going to continue to manage the relationship we've had with the United States for 150 years as best we can. We owe it to the Canadian people. We owe it to the American people. And the fentanyl crisis is one area where we have joint cooperation. The measures that were announced yesterday are very much about cooperating between our countries and between ourselves here in Canada. That's why some of these measures are already underway. Some of them are starting this morning. They're going to be rolled out in the next week or two. So we are convinced good efforts will prevail, good faith and goodwill. There's a lot at stake here. This is not naive. This is real. This is the largest economic relationship in the world. We have a choice to make between two countries. We can win-win or we can lose-lose. We think it's better to win-win.
Mr. McGuinty, Tim Orderani from the Globe and Mail. What exactly will the fentanyl czar do? Can you explain to us exactly what's happening here?
The nature of the fentanyl crisis is one that it finds its way into many different parts of society and requires a very multi-jurisdictional and multi-pronged approach. So, for example, the new fentanyl czar is going to be involved in pulling together, obviously, our law enforcement, obviously, our local law enforcement, our attorneys general, our provincial counterparts, Health Canada's new laboratory systems that are being stood up so we can track and trace the source of precursors coming from different parts of the world that are being used to make the fentanyl. It involves our global affairs folks because it obviously involves international relationships with China, with Mexico, and beyond. So that fentanyl czar role will be involved in helping to pull all of this together so we can get over any hurdles and execute on a plan that involves minimizing, if not eliminating, fentanyl from Canadian soil.
How much fentanyl is actually going across the border from Canada into the U.S.?
Well, that's a very interesting question for folks to just remember for a second. Less than 1% of fentanyl entering the United States is coming from Canada. In a 12-month period last year, 43 pounds of fentanyl was apprehended by American authorities crossing into the United States from Canada. 43 pounds. During that same 12-month period, 21,000 pounds were apprehended coming in from the southern border. So Canada has a continuing challenge. But most importantly, Canada and the United States have a joint continuing challenge to deal with this crisis. Fentanyl is an extremely dangerous drug. It's lethal. And at some points of time in Canada, based on per capita population, there are more Canadians dying from fentanyl than there are Americans dying from fentanyl. A point that we made very clear to the White House. And so it's very important for us to come at this together. There is no isolation when it comes to fentanyl. We've got to do this together.
Minister, why designate cartels as terrorists? Why designate cartels as terrorists?
The designation of cartel as terrorists under the criminal code is going to give us additional powers to effectively, to be really simple in English, the language about it, follow the money.
Are you talking
It's going to
about
give us.
Mexican
It's going to
drug
give.
cartels
It's going to be giving our government, our law enforcement authorities, forgive me, more powers to exercise to track the money, follow the assets, and disrupt the activities of cartels. I'm really proud of the fact that the RCMP over the last 6 years has actually found and disbanded 47 fentanyl labs, including the largest fentanyl super lab in Canadian history, where they found 95,500,000 lethal doses of fentanyl. This is not simply a Canadian phenomenon. It's happening elsewhere. So we're going to give our law enforcement folks the authority they need to continue to do their jobs.
On the position of the czar, was this a suggestion that originated in the United States? Just weren't even using the terminology czar.
No,
Typically
not
how we
no,
stuff in Canada.
not to my knowledge. I was in Washington last Friday meeting with White House officials, and the question or the language around this was not something that we had discussed. I would tell you, though, that it's an integrative role. It's someone who's going to help pull all of this together for us. We've just got to get this better.
So who might that be? Who are you looking for? Who's...
That's to be decided. We'll have more to say about that by the end of the week.
A few more questions, guys. Did you say more about the 9,000 border personnel? Who are they? Are they going to be new positions?
Look, under the border plan, a number of new positions are contemplated and have been created. We're talking about the RCMP, we're talking about the CBSA, we're talking about our provincial counterparts, we're talking about different police forces in Ontario and Quebec, right here in Manitoba, as the Premier mentioned earlier. Thank the appropriate parties. If you calculate this and put it together, it's just under 10,000 or slightly over 10,000 people who are actually on that border right now. So this is an all hands on deck plan that we're executing together, because there's just simply too much at stake not to get this right.
On fait la question en français.
Le rôle du tsar et quel profil de personne on cherche? Un agent des services frontaliers?
On va chercher quelqu'un, évidemment, avec crédibilité, qui a l'expérience pour ramener ensemble les joueurs qui sont impliqués dans cette chasse au fentanyl. C'est extrêmement important de procéder ensemble, en équipe, parce que c'est un problème sociétal, c'est pas un problème seulement qui vient de la Colombie-Britannique ou du Québec ou des États-Unis. Non, c'est un problème maintenant nord-américain, et ça va prendre quelqu'un avec la maturité, l'influence pour ramener ensemble les joueurs pour effectuer le plan.
Il manque de personnel à GRC ici au Manitoba. Est-ce qu'on pourrait demander à l'armée peut-être de venir donner un coup de main ici?
Écoute, ça c'est une discussion qui pourrait toujours avoir lieu, mais à ce moment-ci, on a amplement de personnel. J'ai pas du tout compris les commentaires de M. Poilievre hier. Je ne sais pas ce qu'il veut faire. Je ne sais pas s'il a l'intention de militariser notre frontière, mais je suis contre.
If destructive was used, if the tariffs are imposed, how would that be destructive to the Canadian side, would you say?
If tariffs were used?
Yes, if tariffs were used, yes.
Well, look, we know the knock-on effects of tariffs. You saw it in the stock exchange yesterday in the United States. We know that it will contribute to increasing prices, cost of living will increase, inflation will go up. This isn't the traditional way that Canadians and Americans iron out their differences. We want to move forward together and continue to prosper. We've had probably the most prosperous trading relationship in human history, certainly in modern history, for 150 years. 400,000 people a day go back and forth between our borders. Billions of dollars of trade each and every day. We win together and we lose if we pull apart. So it's very important for us to keep focused on the growth of our economies. We understand the President has made commitments to the American people. We respect that. But we believe that there is a way to achieve this without tariffs.
Last question over there.
Concern then that the goalposts just don't shift in 30 days' time.
Look, trying to project out where the White House might be in 30 days is I have to be honest with you, I just don't have that kind of luxury of time. We are focused on implementing the plan, and we're moving forward. And I think it's also good for Canada. It's good for Canada to deal with the fentanyl crisis. It's good for Canada to make sure that our borders are safe and efficient and secure, and at the same time can handle and process the trade that we're trying to grow. So, look, the President will continue on his path. We respect that. We're duly elected, legitimately elected. But we are executing on a plan here, and we're moving every day forward in terms of achieving those goals.
You gotta go, guys. You gotta go. $200 million we used.
Sorry, what was the question?
You've announced the $200 million for this plan. Can you tell us how those...
We'll have more to say about the details in that plan. That's a plan that involves some detailed intelligence sharing between Canada and the United States.
Okay, guys, that's all time we have.
This is the audience for today is one person, and that is Donald Trump.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question.
Would you say the audience for today's show and tell episode is one person, and that person is Donald Trump?
I would say that would be the wrong interpretation of today. I think the interpretation of today is that Canadians should know that we have a very strong border and we're making it stronger. Canadians should know that we're cooperating between different orders of government. Canadians should know that their efforts to stand up for Canada are not in vain. Canadians should know that our relationship with the United States is strong. Canadians should understand that our economies are connected. Canadians, this is what this day is about today. Reminding each other in a Team Canada approach, we can do this, we will do this, and that's why we're here to take a look at the investments and how well they're working for us now.
Thanks,
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
That's all. We don't have more time. That's it. That's it.
My name is Jean Yip.
Et je suis Yasser Naqvi.
We are honored to be your MCs for this year's Liberal Caucus Lunar New Year on the Hill reception.
Nous sommes ravis de vous voir ces numéros, vous qui avez fait le déplacement pour être avec nous. Bienvenue à tous.
The Lunar New Year, known as Seolao in Korean communities, Tet in Vietnamese communities, and Spring Festival in Chinese communities, is such an important time of year for families and friends to gather.
La nouvelle an lunaire, connue sous le nom de Soleil dans la communauté coréenne, des têtes dans la communauté vietnamienne et des fêtes du printemps dans la communauté chinoise est un moment important de l'année où les familles et les amis se réunissent.
It carries with it the hopes for prosperity, good health, and happiness in the year ahead. It's a time for family reunion, personal reflection, and of course, good food. And I know we have plenty of good food coming later today.
Il est porteur d'espoir, de prospérité, de bonne santé et de bonheur pour l'année à venir. C'est un moment propice aux réunions de famille, à la réflexion personnelle et bien sûr à la bonne chair.
So do you know what animal we are welcoming this year?
Snake!
Yay, snake! A symbol of renewal, transformation, wisdom, and power.
Cette année, nous accueillons l'année du serpent, symbole de renouveau, de transformation de sagesse et de puissance. Alors que nous nous réunissons à Ottawa, il est important que nous nous rappelions à quel point nos diverses communautés font partie intégrante du tissu de la nation canadienne. Qu'il s'agisse de nos entreprises, de nos écoles, de nos arts ou de nos langues, la diversité rend nos communautés dynamiques et fortes.
Before we get started with tonight's program, just a few quick notes to ensure the evening runs smoothly. Restrooms are located downstairs. A coat check can also be found there. If you require any assistance, please find an event volunteer at the registration desk where you came in.
Les toilettes sont situées au rez-de-chaussée. Un vestiaire s'y trouve également. Si vous avez besoin d'aide, veuillez vous adresser à un bénévole dans l'événement au bureau d'inscription où vous êtes arrivé.
I'm glad to see that the room is slowly filling in. I realize there's been long lineups outside, and I want to just thank you for your patience. I don't know if you want to ad-lib that, or if you want us to start off.
Commençons par le premier spectacle de la soirée, un spectacle du tambour traditionnel. Les jouets de tambour âgés de 5 à 15 ans viennent du temple Fo Guangshan de Ottawa. Souhaitons-leur la bienvenue à Amusons-nous.
Let's kick off things with our first performance of the evening, a traditional drum performance. The drummers, aged 5 to 15, are from the Fu Guangshang Temple of Ottawa. Let's welcome them and enjoy. Oh, are they doing more?
I think they're done. They're done, yeah.
Oh, wait, the monk is in. Oh, are they done? One more.
Okay.
One more. Oh. Okay. Looks like they're all done. Aren't they the cutest bunch of drummers? Let's hear it. Okay, do you want to introduce?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is our great pleasure now. It's on très excité, invité to invite our really good friend, Paul Chiang, who's the Member of Parliament for Markham Unionville and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship. Please welcome, bienvenue, Paul Chiang.
Well. Thank you so much, Yasser and Jean, for your kind introduction. Hello, everyone. Hello. 大家好. 大家好. First, I want to extend my heartfelt thank you to the Liberal Chinese Caucus for organizing this wonderful event tonight. A big thank you also to all the performers, all the volunteers, and the caucus staff members for your outstanding efforts in making this celebration possible. It is truly an honor to be here with you today, celebrating the Lunar New Year. To everyone here, I offer my warmest wishes. May this year of the snake bring you prosperity, good health, and happiness. 恭祝大家新春快乐，身体健康，12年吉祥，万事如意。This is the time to come together with family, friends, and loved ones to reflect on the past year and look ahead with hope and excitement for the future. We also celebrate the rich tradition and customs that comes with it. Tradition that has been passed down through generation and hold deep meaning for all of us. Myself, my family generation goes back 3,000 years in China. So I'm so grateful to be celebrating Chinese New Year with all of you. It is not only just a celebration in a calendar year date, it's a celebration of who we are, of our shared values, and of the strength that comes from unity. As we come together, I'm reminded of something that's very important. But moments like this are where we come together as a community, and these moments reminds us of what truly matters: unity, connection, and mutual respect for each other. Now it is my pleasure to introduce someone who has been a strong advocate for our community and our country. MP Mary Ng is not only the member... MP Mary Ng is not only the Member of Parliament for Markham Thornhill, but she's also served as a Minister of Export Promotions, International Trade, and Economic Development. Her dedication to building strong international relationships and her work in promoting Canadian businesses, especially small businesses, has been inspiring for me. MP Ng's leadership and commitment to advancing the interests of Canadian communities, including her ongoing work with many cultural groups across the country, truly embodies the spirit of inclusion and opportunities. Please join me in welcoming the Honorable Mary Ng, Minister of International Trade.
Paul, thank you so very much. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ottawa. Welcome to Parliament Hill. 新年快樂，蛇年祝大家身體健康，萬事如意。先言 Kuai Le, everyone. It's really terrific to be here to celebrate Lunar New Year and to be here with my caucus colleagues. You are seeing them all strong here. And thank you all for braving the cold and traveling from literally across the country to come celebrate Lunar New Year with all of us as friends, family, and neighbors. And you know, I love this time of year. I can't think of a celebration where you celebrate Lunar New Year on one day, but then you keep celebrating it for days and days and weeks and weeks and weeks, and then culminating into one long, wonderful month where you get to eat a lot, where you get to get lots of red pockets. Who likes getting red pockets? I like getting lots of red pockets. And when you celebrate just the togetherness with your friends and your family, and I think that that's what makes Canada just so special. All of us celebrate this wonderful heritage of the Lunar New Year. This year is the Year of the Snake. We're all celebrating Lunar New Year, but we are celebrated as proud, proud Canadians. And as we celebrate the Year of the Snake, we're embracing the powerful symbolism of what the wisdom of the snake is, the strength and the new beginnings. And I can't think of anyone who exemplifies that better than the person I'm about to introduce. But before I do, let me just take a moment to say a couple of words about Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who has led our country with a vision for inclusiveness. His leadership has strengthened Canada in a way where differences are celebrated. We all come from different parts of the world, and we celebrate our heritage, and we celebrate each other, and we celebrate it in this multicultural place that we call Canada. And the Prime Minister has done nothing but led this country with that fortitude. And with that, let me take a moment to welcome the Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, to the stage. Gong hei fa choi, gong si fa zai.
Thank you all. What a pleasure to see you all here tonight. Happy Lunar New Year. Unfortunately, before we start, I just want to take a moment. I found out just minutes ago that an honorary Canadian, the Aga Khan, passed away. His Highness the Aga Khan was an extraordinarily compassionate global leader, a man of vision, of faith, and of incredible generosity. He was passionate about Canada and what we've been able to create here in this country, and how we are always striving to build better and more for more and more people. He will be deeply, deeply missed by people around the world, but particularly the Ismaili community that is grieving tonight. Our hearts go out to all of them. And I lost a very good friend, a friend of my father's and a friend of mine tonight. So I am sad, and we will all reflect on his extraordinary legacy for the coming days, weeks, and indeed years. But it is a real pleasure to be here with so many members of the community tonight. Merci Mary pour cette généreuse introduction, et merci surtout pour tout ce que tu fais pour améliorer les opportunités des Canadiens et être une voix forte pour nos communautés chinoises ici à Ottawa. I want to thank Yasser Naqvi as well, and Jean Yip for emceeing tonight, and a special huge thank you to Jean for doing so much work to organize this wonderful Lunar New Year celebration. It's also a real treat to be here with so many members of our caucus and cabinet, including Paul Chang, Jenna Suds, Helena Jasic, Leah Taylor-Roy, Majid Jahari, Ali Asasi, and a few other. I think Rachel Bandayan just showed up. and a few others. So it is a very, very well attended celebration, even though, as you know, Parliament's not sitting. A lot of people came up to make sure that we were celebrating this, this happy moment of the Lunar New Year. Because celebrating all together is what the Lunar New Year is all about. It's about coming together with friends, with family, with community. Le Nouvel An lunaire, c'est une des raisons magnifiques. C'est des maisons magnifiquement décorées en rouge, une couleur que j'aime tout particulièrement, pour attirer la chance et la prospérité. C'est allumer des pétards, se rassembler pour partager un repas avec vos proches, avec ceux que vous aimez. It's about wishing your loved ones good health and good fortunes by exchanging gifts and those red envelopes. But above all, this year, it's about renewal, recognizing the end of winter and the coming spring season while looking to a brighter future instead of dwelling on the past. And appropriately, this year is the year of the snake, an animal which symbolizes transformation, wisdom, and resilience. Resilience. And that, more than anything, is a value that Korean Canadians, Vietnamese Canadians, and Chinese Canadians embody. Korean Canadians who often migrated to Canada with little to no money in their pocket now contribute to our country in countless ways. Les Canadiens d'origine vietnamienne qui ont fui les horreurs de la guerre et se trouvent un refuge ici et font maintenant partie de notre grande famille canadienne. And Chinese Canadians who persevered despite deep discrimination to not only build vibrant, prosperous communities, but to literally build this country. A history we are proud to celebrate with our government's investment in the Chinese Canadian Museum that recently opened in Vancouver. Resilience has long been a value you've embraced, and it's a value I think Canadians of all backgrounds have wholeheartedly embraced as well. These past few weeks have been challenging, but that resilience, that camaraderie we've seen on display has been remarkable. And in the spirit of the Lunar New Year, I've never been more optimistic about Canada's future. We're not out of the woods yet. We need to continue to pull together and be there for each other. But as I announced yesterday, we reached an agreement with the United States to pause the proposed tariffs against Canada, along with our countermeasures, and working together to tackle the scourge of fentanyl. And, of course, we will keep working until those tariffs are off the table altogether. But the one thing that has shone through over the past few days is Canadians being there for their neighbors, for their friends, looking to buy Canadian goods, looking to find Canadian suppliers, looking to be there to support communities right across the country through these challenging times. That is the very best of Canada. We pull together when we're faced with challenges, and that's what we've seen from coast to coast to coast. We are more aligned than ever. We are more united than ever. Le gouvernement fédéral, nos provinces, nos territoires, nos entreprises, nos syndicats et des dizaines de millions de Canadiens d'un océan à l'autre on a tous mis nos différences de côté, on s'est rassemblés pour le bien de notre pays. We've collectively shown that when Canada's interests are in danger, our political identity no longer matters. There is only one team, and that is Team Canada. So as we move forward into the year of the snake, let us commit to fully embracing the values that the Lunar New Year represents. Let us resolve to remain resilient and united. Let us commit to working towards a better, brighter future. And let us recognize the role that you, Chinese, Korean, and Vietnamese Canadians all play in making Canada the very best country on earth. Merci encore de m'avoir invité à célébrer avec vous ce soir. Je souhaite à vous tous une très belle nouvelle année. Shinyen Kwaila, Somnin Failok, Chukmun Namoy, Seebok Manibadiseo. Merci beaucoup, mes amis. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We're going to ask the Prime Minister now to dot the I for the lion and also to hold up the lucky cabbage. So thank you so much.